Hello everyone, welcome to Computer Graphics Lesson 8. So for today, we're going to actually start our third project, kind of like set it up. This will be like a nice review of what we've done so far and also learn some new things. And as you continue the project, you will learn more things. So kind of like a basic intro of what we are creating. So we're going to be creating an endless side-scrolling game where the player jumps over any oncoming obstacles. So for this particular project, it focuses on sound and effects. So you're going to learn how to add music and sound effects later on. You're also going to create dynamic, endless, repeating backgrounds. And you're going to learn how to incorporate particle effects like splatters and explosions. This game's kind of similar to like Geometry Dash, if you guys have played that. So let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is go to Unity Learn, go to Unit 3, and you want to download the Prototype 3 starter files and then set up your project. So I've done this project, so I'm going to just walk you guys through what to do. So I've already set it up and everything. So the first thing you want to do is actually go to Assets, and you're going to import your package from the zip file that you download and extract. And then once you do that, you want to go to the scenes folder and open up prototype 3. And then you'll see, you'll also see a sample scene. And after you open up the prototype 3 scene, you want to delete that. And once you've done that, you will go to background in your hierarchy. And you'll go to your sprite in the sprite renderer. And you can select whichever background you want. So I selected background city, but they have town and I think they have another one too, two versions of town. So this is my background. So the next thing we're going to do is choose and set up our player. So from our course library again and going to characters, you can pick between a farm or town. So I selected this player and just dragged it onto my scene. And then I renamed the player in the hierarchy as player, basically. And now it's going to be facing forward, so it's going to be kind of like that. So you want to rotate it 90 degrees so that it's facing the side, so because it's a side-scrolling game. And once you've done that, you're going to add two things. You're going to go to Add Component, and you're going to add a rigid body component and a box collider component. And we're actually only going to edit the box collider bounce for now. So it's this little green box around the player. And basically, you kind of want the box to surround the entire player. So when you add the component, it won't be like that. So you kind of want to center it. So for me, that was just making Y 1.5 and then just playing around with the size to make sure the box kind of fit the whole person. I also am including the arms because my character's arms are out, but that's up to you. So now you can see that the green box is surrounding the entire character. So after that, you're going to go to assets, and you're actually going to create a folder called scripts. So you're going to right click, create, and folder. I've already created it. And then in your scripts folder, you are going to create a player control script. So again, right click, create, and you're going to a C# script, and you're going to name it player controller. And you want to attach it to the player. So you're basically going to just drag the script and add it over player in the hierarchy. And then once you've done that, you should be able to see the script here. So now the first thing we're going to do is make the player jump at the start. So to do this with more control over the force and gravity, you call the method on the player's rigid body component specifically. Before, up until now, we've only called the methods on like the entire object itself or the transform component, but we're going to focus on the player's rigid body component this time. So in your player controller script, I'm gonna open that. You are going to do a few things, only some of this for now. So first in your class, you are going to create a private rigid body variable, and you're going to call it player RB. And then in the start, you want to initialize it. So you're going to do player RB get component rigid body. And then you want to use an add force in the player method. But when we do this, you'll notice that player RB equals force. And this will kind of just make the player jump. And we're just gonna say that's it. So when you do this and you make the run the game, basically, you'll notice that the player will just jump and fly out. So obviously you kind of don't want that. You want the player to jump specifically when you're pressing like a space bar and kind of like when we tell them to. So you're gonna actually get rid of this add force line. And then in the update method, you're gonna call the add force instead. And you're gonna add a force mode impulse. So ignoring the if statement for now, you are only gonna do this line. Or actually you're gonna you want to do if input get. And the key code is space, just a space bar. You want the player jump value 10. And then we're gonna add a force mode parameter control allows to also reduce the force multiplier value. This should be your methods. You should have this in your method function and this line in your start. And now when you run the game, the player should jump when you press the space bar. But when you will notice that when you press the space bar, the player will just jump off the screen. So this is where we're gonna add gravity and kind of tweak the jump force. You're kind of gonna go back to your thing. Just gonna get rid of that. So we're gonna replace like how we added the hard-coded value of like 100, 1,000 with a new float variable. So you're gonna create public float jump force. That's the next variable you're gonna create. And you're also going to create a gravity modifier to these two floats. And then in the start function, you're gonna change the gravity using the gravity modifier. So we're gonna do physics.gravity star equals gravity modifier. So this kind of notation is basically the same as saying physics.gravity is equal to gravity, physics.gravity multiplied by your gravity modifier. So instead of typing out this entire thing, this use of star equals is like a short form of basically saying this. And then now in your update function, ignoring the ending, you're gonna make the player jump. Instead of 100 here or whatever value you had, you're gonna put jump force because we have now made it a variable. And now you can go back to your inspector and just kind of play around with the jump force and the gravity modifier. So for mine, I made the jump force 10 and the gravity modifier 1.5. And this will kind of, just to show the jump, ignoring everything else, just so for you guys can see. This will be kind of like, you can see like the player jumps and comes back down. Yeah, so that's kind of basically what we've done with this so far. And you can also actually adjust the mass of the player. I kept mine as 1, but if you go to the rigid body component in the inspector for the player, you can adjust the mass. So I kept it as 1. But now you'll notice when it was doing that, mine just came back down. But sometimes if you press the spacebar for you, it'll like double jump and just float off into the sky. So you want to add a new component variable to your script that'll help prevent the player from double jumping. So this is where you're going to create a bool. A bool is basically short for Boolean. So this is a Boolean variable called isOnGround, and you're going to set it to true. So Booleans are variables that can be true or false. And then in our if statement, we're going to change it and do the and isOnGround. So and basically means that both the spacebar and whatever comes after. So for us, isOnGround must be true. So both of these must be true in order for the thing inside the if statement to take place. And then once the spacebar is pressed, the player is no longer on the ground, so you're going to reset it to it is on ground, make it false. And then we're going to create a new on collision enter method, which will like set our is on ground test variable to true. And then you want to save that and compile it. And now it should do what I showed you earlier. It should not double jump and rather just jump up and down. Yeah. So the next thing we're going to do is actually make an obstacle because we need the player to jump over something. So we are going to go to our course library, go to the obstacles folder, and you want to just pick one and drag it to your screen. So I picked this barrier prop. And then again, same as the player, you want to add a rigid body component and a box collider component from this button. So add component rigid body box collider to the obstacle itself. And then same as what we did for the box collider for the player, you're going to adjust it. So again, my center was 1. And then these were the sizes for the green box to cover the entire obstacle. Now we're going to go and create a prefab. This was kind of like from our previous project. So we're going to go to our assets and we're going to create a prefabs folder. So again, right click folder, and you can see I already have one. What you want to do is just drag the obstacle to the thing. So for example, I want to create a player prefab, like, and it's going to ask you, would you like to create a new original prefab? You're going to say original prefab. I already did it for the obstacle, which is why it's already in the folder. Then you're going to go to scripts and you're going to create a move left script. And then you want to drag it and attach it to the obstacle. So now if you scroll down, you'll see that the move left script is attached to it. Now we're going to open the move left script. And we're not doing a lot here. We basically want to just make it move left. So we're going to create a speed float variable, and we just set it to 30 for now. And then in the update, we're going to use translate to make the obstacle move left according to the speed variable. So transform.translate left, time, and speed. And this is going to be in the update function. And once you've written all this and saved it, you want to actually take the script and attach it to the background as well, because that's how the game is going to look like the player is moving. And now the last thing we're going to do is actually do a spawn manager. So we need to create an empty object spawn app manager that will like instantiate like obstacle prefabs. Basically, this is going to just create new obstacles as we play the game. So in your hierarchy, you're going to right click, you're going to go to create empty, and you're going to create a spawn manager as it's created here. And then you're gonna go to scripts again, create a script called spawn manager. So again, create C# script. I've already created mine. And then you're gonna drag it and attach it to your spawn manager. So it should show up here. Now opening the script, we are going to declare a game object called obstacle prefab. And then we're going to declare another variable for the position. So this is like a position variable. And we've just set it to 2500 for now. And ignore the float variables for now. And then in your start, basically you're going to instantiate it. So ignoring the spawn obstacle one, you are going to, for now, instantiate this. So this should be your line of code. You're basically just instantiating the obstacle prefab, the spawn position, and the rotation of it. Delete that, but you're gonna. So now basically what this is gonna do is just spawn it once, like that's all it's gonna do. But we needed to do it at different intervals. So that's gonna be our last step. Because we kind of want to repeat it constantly, kind of like spawn the obstacle, not just once at the start. So you're going to go back to your script and you're going to create a new method called void spawn obstacle. And you're just going to move the instantiation that you wrote in the start method to the spawn obstacle like I have here. And then now you're going to create two new variables, float variables, start delay and repeat rate. So kind of like the delay before and then how the time in between which it spawns at. So I've set both of them equal to 2 for now. And then you want to have your obstacle spawn in intervals by using the invoke repeating method. So in the start method, start function, you're going to do invoke repeating, spawn obstacle, and then you're going to do it at start, delay, and repeat rate. And save that. Now there are two things you have to do. First, in your spawn manager, you'll notice after in your script, you'll see obstacle prefab, and you'll have nothing attached to it, which is why it won't spawn immediately. So you have to go to your prefabs folder and drag your obstacle prefab here. And now it knows that that's what you're spawning. And the second thing we're going to do is go to player. We're going to go to our rigid body, and you're going to expand constraints. So I've already expanded it. And you're going to see freeze position, and you want to freeze the X and Z position leaving the Y because that's how you're jumping, but the X and Z should stay the same. And now, after we've attached the moving left script to the obstacle and the background, and we've done the prefab and spawn manager, if we play it, and to show you the spawning, as you can see, it's just duplicating it. Now it's doing it at the same position, but this is as we continue the project, it will spawn at different places, but that's kind of what we've done so far. So quick recap, we made the player jump when the spacebar is pressed. We made sure the player cannot double jump. And then we made both the obstacles and the background move left. And then we also made the obstacles spawn on intervals. And some of the new things we learned was our physics.gravity. We learned about rigid body constraints and rigid body variables. We learned about booleans, which are the variables that are either true or false. We learned about our multiple assigned operators. So what I mean by that is the star equals this thing. And we also learned about and. And that's it for this lesson. Thank you for watching.